Health ng dengue express lane sa mga ospital ng gobyerno. Nag-install ang DOST na insecticide-treated screens at mosquito ovicidal larvicidal traps. Yung National Dengue Prevention and Control Program, malinaw po ang resulta. Bumagsak mula sa 1,057 noong 2010 patungong 317 sa Oktubre 2015 ang bilang ng mga namatay dahil sa dengue. December 2015, nagpunta po ako sa Paris para sa COP21, kumprensya ng mga bansa para tugunan ang climate change. Gaya ng lahat na biyahe natin, kinausap natin ang mga maraming mamumuhunan, partikular na ang Viva Poplis, Airbus, Jacobi Carbons, isang kumpanya nga lang yung CRH at tumudo sa Usin, IO at pati na rin ang Sanofi. Sinabi sa atin noon na ready na ang Sanofi sa bakuna. Yung ganitong uri ng gamot, maraming taon inaabot ang development para masiguro talaga ang efficacy at lalo na ang safety. Naalala ko po, bilang halimbawa, noong 1960s po, may gamot na ngalang thalidomide na bibinenta para sa morning sickness na nagbunsod ng deformity sa mga sanggol ng mga babaeng uminom po nito. Kaya nagpasa noong taong 1962 ang US Congress ng tinatawag na Kefauver-Harris Amendments para sa Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act at naghigpit na mga proseso ang United States Food and Drug Administration. Ang intindi natin sa dengue, natapos na ang lokal at international processes na kailangan pundaanan natin ay daanan nito. Tinignan namin ang US FDA. May 5 steps po ito. Discovery and development, preclinical research, clinical research, FDA review, at post-market safety monitoring. Paliwanag sa akin, dumaan ang dengue sa isa sa mga phases ng US FDA. Din ko na rin po, di lang Pilipinas ang nag-aproba sa dengue, nauna sa atin ang Mexico at Brazil. Din ko lalo, sa aking pong pakiwari at sa aking pagkaunawa, sa lahat ay binalita sa atin ng mga eksperto, dumana po ito sa lahat ng proseso para malaman ang kanyang efficacy at mas importante ang kanyang safety. Noong ilunsad natin ang programa sa Zambales noong April 2016, ipinakita sa akin ang isang presentation na nakasaad ang ilang bakunang dekada ng napapakinabangan ng mga may kaya, pero kailan lang naibigay sa publiko. Nandiyan po sa ating screen. Gaya po ng bakuna para sa polio, rabies at pneumonia. Din ko lang po, ang obligasyon ng gobyerno na siguruhin, gaya ng sinabi ni President Magsaysay, na those who have less in life should have more in law. Hindi ko po naisip ipagkait sa pinaka-nangangailangan at nanganganib ang proteksyon ng bakuna. Sa lahat po ng usapin ngayon ukol sa dengue, kung di man diretsong sinasabi, ang pakiwari ay kung nagpabakuna ka, tila nalalapit ka sa pinakamalubang uri ng dengue. Tila nalalapit ka sa kamatayan. Nung kami po ang namamahala, malinaw sa amin, kung tatakutin mo ng gusto ang tao, darating ang punto na di na sila makakakilos dahil sa kaba. Klaro po sa amin noon, trabaho ng gobyerno na pakalmahin at suportahan ang Pilipino. Kaya nung Pangulo ako, kinastigo ko ang mga opisyal na mahilig magpakaba ng sambayanan. Gaya po noong 2014, nung may issue tayo tungkol sa MERS coronavirus. Pinigting nga po natin ang surveillance at pagtutok sa sakit. Diin ko lang po, bago nagdesisyon ng gobyerno sa dengue, habang nagdedesisyon at maski pagkatapos magdesisyon, wala pong nagparating sa akin ng pagtutol sa naturang bakuna. Kaya natin inilunsad dito sa National Capital Region, Calabarzon at Central Luzon. Dahil ayon sa datos ng DOH, ito po ang tatlong pinaka-apektadong mga rehiyon noong 2015 kaugnay ng dengue. Kung di lumabas itong sinabi ng Sanofi at nagdesisyon akong hayaan na lang na magdusa pa ang karaniwang Pilipino gayong may bakuna na, palagay ko po ngayon, iba ang tanong ninyo at asunto sa akin. Bakit mo pinabayaan ang kababayan mo? Paano ko ipapaliwanag sa mga nanay ang pagkamatay sa kanilang mga anak kung meron na palang proteksyon na ipinagkait sa kanila? Ulitin ko po, 2010 pa lang po may problema na tayo sa dengue. 1,409% ang paglobo nito sa Region 8. na posibleng rin mangyari sa buong bansa. Nangako kong iiwan ko ang Pilipinas sa mas maganda kesa sa aking dinatnan. Kakibat noon ang pagbawas sa gastos, kaba at pasanin ng aking mga boss ang sambayan ng Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the World Health Organization have a preliminary statement to make?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, first of all, for allowing me to participate in this hearing. If you wish so, I can talk a little bit about the WHO position at the time of the introduction of the vaccine here, because I understand there have been different views about this, and maybe that would help to clarify the position of our organization. So with your permission, I will just take a few minutes to explain that position.
Please go ahead.
Now, thank you. Now, WHO, with regard to the introduction of new vaccines, has a very standardized and regulated process. And in this process, there are two important steps. The first step in this process is for WHO to convene a group of independent experts. It's called the Strategic Advisory Group on Experts on Immunization. This group is convened by the organization, and that group is tasked to review all available data at that time and to make recommendations about the possible use of a vaccine in countries. So for this specific case, this group convened in April of 2016, and the recommendations by this group were published mid-April, on 15th of April 2016. So after the program was officially launched in this country. Now, this position and these recommendations are then taken by the World Health Organization to develop its own organizational position on a vaccine. And the WHO organizational position on a vaccine is published in form of a WHO position paper. The WHO position paper, the first WHO position paper on the dengue vaccine, was published on the 29th of July 2016. Now, this position paper did not make a blanket recommendation to countries to introduce the dengue vaccine, but rather recommended that countries consider the introduction of dengue vaccine only in areas where there is a high burden of disease. Now, the paper listed a number of conditions that should be met by countries if they want to actually consider introducing the vaccine. It also listed benefits and risks and other issues that the countries should take into consideration when making this decision. Now, if you bear with me, maybe I'll just take 2-3 more minutes to explain a little bit, because I think that goes to the core of the matter, what these recommendations in detail were. And basically, we are looking at 3 sets of considerations that were proposed in this paper. Now, the first set relates to conditions that should be met for a country to actually consider whether to introduce the vaccine. So this includes there should be a high prevalence of dengue in the country, in the target group. Ideally, more than 70% of people should have been exposed to dengue prior to vaccination. There should be a comprehensive dengue control strategy in the country. There should be capacity in place to monitor and manage adverse effects following vaccination, and a dengue surveillance system that is able to detect and report hospitalized and severe dengue. So these were the overall conditions set out for countries to actually consider introduction, and in mid-April, these were the considerations first published by this advisory group. And in mid-April, WHO acknowledged that overall, these overall conditions appear to be met in the Philippines, so that indeed the Philippines can consider the introduction and the use of this vaccine. Now, second, the paper also discussed, the position paper, gave a detailed account of the potential benefits and risks and uncertainties that surround the vaccine based on the available evidence at the time. So in terms of the benefits, WHO said that the overall vaccine appeared to be efficacious in preventing dengue. In terms of risk, the paper said that in people 9 years and older, in the study group, for which we had data at the time, a statistical increase in the risk of severe dengue was not observed. However, the paper did note that in the light of the limited data available, there was a theoretical risk that previously uninfected people, in those people, vaccination could increase the occurrence of severe dengue. And the paper said that this would require more research to confirm. Now there's a third group of considerations proposed in this paper. And these are important issues that the country should take into consideration in making its own decision about whether or not to introduce the vaccine. So these include local priorities, issues around cost effectiveness and predicted impact, but also affordability and budget considerations. So these were the three parts of the position paper, what was proposed in July, end of July 2016. So maybe to summarize, the decision about whether to introduce a new vaccine is a decision for governments, not for WHO. WHO's role is to provide the best possible advice based on the available evidence at the time to guide countries in making this decision. Until mid-April 2016, WHO had not published recommendations with regard to the dengue vaccine. In mid-April, the recommendations from the advisory group came out, and they were followed by the WHO position paper end of July. The advisory group recommendations did not, and the position paper as well, did not include a blanket recommendation to introduce the vaccine, but provide a nuanced set of recommendations that countries should consider when they are making their own decision about whether or not to introduce the vaccine. Now, WHO acknowledged in April that the overall conditions that were specified by the group, which should be met in a country in order to consider the introduction, appeared to be met, and pointed at the same time to other considerations that would then inform this country decision. So when this position paper was published, we noted that the program was actually already ongoing because it was officially launched prior to the publication of those recommendations.
Excuse
Now,
me.
let me also
In other
say
words,
to complete-
excuse me, if I may interrupt. That means that your recommendation came after the rollout.
After the launch of the program, yes, correct.
So the program was launched before your comments were made.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
So maybe let me just say that in the light of the new information now, which was published first by the manufacturer on the 29th of November, WHO again is mobilizing its expert committees and seeking advice from them. We have got two groups which are currently looking at the data. The first group is a Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety. So this is a standing committee. This group has reviewed the data last week, and they have published a statement with a view, with their interpretation of the data as of last night, and which is now online. And this statement focuses on issues around safety of the vaccine. Now there's a second group that is deliberating as we speak, which is this strategic advisory group of experts on immunization. That is the group that also published a statement mid-April last year. This group will also look at the data, and they will now think more about what are the implications for the future of the public health program. So what should happen to those who've been vaccinated, those who've not been vaccinated, and those also who might have had not all 3 doses, but only 1 or 2 doses. So these are important questions, and we realize that this is there are many questions around this, and we will wait for the advice of this group to see how we then can support the DOH in making the best decision on how to take this forward. Yes, I think that concludes my statement. I really hope that this was you found that useful to clarify a little bit the timeline and also the position of WHO. I'm of course happy to answer any questions to the extent that I can do, and I just want to of course reconfirm our full commitment to work very closely, in particular with the Department of Health, in responding to the new information and making the best possible information available to the public and to the professionals to take this program forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiler. Are there any other opening statements that will be made? Any other people who want to make an opening statement from the resource persons? VACC made a reservation to make an opening statement. Go ahead. Are you representing VACC? I thought it was Mr. Dr. Go ahead. All right, go ahead. Please make it short, please. Yes. If she would let you. Have you been, can you raise your hand?
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
State your name, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Kindly state
my
your
name is Ferdinand Topacio. I'm the General Counsel of the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption, who is assisting one of the resource persons in this proceedings, Your Honor.
Mr. Francis Cruz.
Dr. Francis Cruz, Your Honors. Yes, may I proceed, Your Honors? Your Honors, on behalf of the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption, or VACC, pursuant to the authority given to me by its board, I am respectfully submitting the following position of the VACC. The VACC is respectfully requesting this august body to recommend the investigation of the following persons in connection with the anomalous purchase and administering of the Dengvaxia vaccine to more than 833 Filipino children. For plunder, President Benigno S. Aquino III, former Budget Secretary Abad, former Health Secretary Garin, former Health Secretary, Undersecretary Boygaco, former Undersecretary Hartigongo, Undersecretary Lilibet David, Undersecretary Bayugo, Undersecretary Taino, and Assistant Secretary Lyndon Lisuy, ASEC Nest Santiago, and other persons named herein, which we will submit to this honorable committee. Plunder, Your Honors, under Republic Act 7080, as amended, was committed when these persons, in connivance with subordinates or other persons, have amassed, accumulated, or acquired ill-gotten wealth through a combination or series of overt or criminal acts, as described in Section 1D, in the aggregate amount of more than 50 million pesos. In brief, Your Honor, it has been shown in the series of hearings being conducted by this committee that former Secretary Abad, in a memorandum for the President after finding a source therefore, recommended the release of the amount of 3.5 billion pesos from the general fund, notwithstanding the fact that such amount was not provided for in the GAA or any supplemental budget. Such fund was thereafter released, evidently upon express authorization of then President Aquino. We say the release was authorized by former President Aquino because, upon conversation with two former presidents, whose names we will no longer mention, they informed us that such a release of such a magnitude could not have occurred without express presidential imprimatur, either verbal or written. The release of the funds to the DOJ happened after President Aquino met at least twice with officials of Sanofi, thus leading to the reasonable conclusion that President Aquino extended favors to the said company under the circumstances. The irregularity becomes more pronounced in view of the admission of Yusek Hartigongo that the vaccination program was, quote, politically motivated, unquote. Likewise, President Aquino could not have been unaware that the vaccination project was to be undertaken in an election year during a campaign period, as in fact it commenced in April 2016, right smack in the middle of the campaign, and in areas where the voting population was most concentrated. As proven during the hearings, Dengvaxia was also approved by the FDA and exempted from the rule that only those approved for listing in the Philippine Drug Formulary could be legally procured by the government with undue and indecent haste. In fact, the funding for the purchase of Dengvaxia had already been approved prior to its approval by the FDA and its exemption from the formulary. Secretary Garin and other DOH officials were evidently in cahoots with President Aquino and the other above officials when they conspired, connived, and confederated to A, formulate a vaccination program that was supply-driven, not demand-driven. B, make it appear that such program was top priority when it was not. C, administer mass vaccination to children of school age indiscriminately without regard to their medical history, and undertake such mass vaccination with as much haste as possible when clinical trials were still incomplete. The above should be taken in the context of the demonstrated facts that Sanofi, through its local distributor Zoelig, was the only seller of the vaccine. Number two, there were at the time of procurement legitimate and valid questions raised by experts as to the propriety of the effectivity of the vaccine and its unit pricing. And three, the delivery of near-expiry vaccines, which should have been either not accepted or given free. In addition, the amount of 3.5 billion pesos for the vaccination program may have violated the ruling of the Supreme Court in Araulo versus Aquino, 1 July 2014, with respect to the Development Acceleration Program. In sum, there is overwhelming evidence to the effect that President Aquino, in conspiracy with the others named, illegally funded a vaccination program that was conceived in violation of legal and administrative protocols, and that it consented to or tolerated the misdelivery by Sanofi of numerous lots of untested vaccines, and under a suspicious procurement and pricing scheme, which may have resulted in kickbacks and other illicit profits for the participants in the nefarious scheme. As to the element of amassing wealth, there is the principle that he who stands to profit from the effects of a crime is presumed to be the author thereof. In order to reveal the money trail, there is need for the Anti-Money Laundering Council, Your Honors, to check the bank accounts of all concerned and to freeze their assets if warranted. These measures are provided for in RA 9160 as amended and the IRR of the AMLC dated August 6, 2003. Since it appears that the crimes committed by the above persons are among the predicate crimes under Section 3I and 3 and 4 thereof. The officials of Sanofi must also be identified and charged together with the aforementioned officials in order for them to be indicted as co-conspirators if warranted. On this score, the VACC stands committed to helping the NBI, tasked by DOJ Secretary under DO 763 dated 4 December 2017, in a case built up by interviewing witness and collating other evidence. With respect to violation of RA 3019, the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, Your Honors, we respectfully recommend, respectfully suggest that this body recommend the filing of charges for violation
Point of
thereof.
order, Mr. Chairman.
What's your point of order?
Yes, we are here and have invited resource persons to shed light on this controversy. There are issues of the efficacy of the vaccine, etc. We have resource persons. These are investigations. This is an investigation in aid of legislation. With all due respect to Attorney Topacio, he comes around with all kinds of charges. I have not heard him say anything about the issue of Sanofi having committed any indiscretion, etc. He is not a resource person. And we have a rule here in the Senate that we allow resource persons to speak, not counsel. Okay, he may be representing the VACC, but this is not an adversary proceeding. This is a investigation in aid of legislation, and I want to emphasize that. He charges the former president, cabinet members of plunder. Mr. Chairman, you know, these are legal conclusions, which I respectfully submit, should be brought to the proper forum of the Ombudsman. We should take extra care about besmirching the reputation of people, Attorney Topacio. The people come here as resource persons of the committee. They are not, you know, you come up with charges of plunder, etc. I don't think this is proper, Mr. Chairman. That's why I raised this point of order.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, if I may
I have a point
respond.
of order, if you can rule on it.
The representation of Mr. Topacio was that he represents VACC. Are you here as counsel of VACC or are you representing VACC?
I am representing
You're a member
VACC
of
in
VACC.
pursuant of the authority
And your
given to
position
me.
is that there are people who should be charged by reason of this investigation.
We are not charging anyone, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Messrs. Chairman. We are merely suggesting respectfully to the committee that in
But
its committee report,
Are you reading from a charge sheet?
No, Your Honor, I am not.
And what is the purpose of that then?
This is
Realize that-
denominated, Your Honor, as position paper of the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption. These are recommendations, Your Honor, suggestions, respectful suggestions to the committee that in their committee report, these suggestions may or may not be included. These are just suggestions, Your Honor,
Well-
not charges, not accusations.
Well, like I said, we want to know where this is headed. Are you about to conclude? How many
Yes, Your Honor, in
pages?
2 minutes, Your Honor, I will be concluding.
All right, we'll just let you finish para hindi na magulo.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. With all due respect
Never mind,
to-
just go ahead and finish.
Yes, Your Honor. Lastly, Your Honors, for violation of BP 881, we urge the committee to see whether there was a violation of the provisions of the Omnibus Election Code with respect to the dengue vaccine, particularly sections 2610 and V, or the so-called election ban. And we wish to announce in one sentence, Your Honor, that the VACC will assist those willing to pursue a class suit.
Well, you can stop your advocacy.
Yes, Your
Just
Honor.
stick to the issues.
Yes, and this is the final one, Mr. Chairman. We respectfully call on this honorable committee to recommend to the FDA or any proper government agency to cause the blacklisting of Sanofi Pasteur from doing business in the Philippines for its alleged acts of
You can do that
instigating
on your own cognition as a lawyer. I only allowed you because part of the investigation kasama yung possible malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance.
Yes, Your
that
Honor.
this committee or this chairman has already recognized, and that's why we made that privileged speech that became the entree for this investigation.
Yes, we thank the honorable chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, the honorable chairman of the Committee on Health, and the members of both committees. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you. Yes,
Your Honor, may I be given an opportunity to rectify some erroneous statements out in the media because it has something to do with my involvement with Zuilik Pharma as alleged.
you may do so later, not now.
Thank
We
you,
will
Your
proceed
Honor.
with the investigation. Are there any other comments made? The FDA is recognized. This is Ms. Puno, Director Puno, the new FDA head.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. May I be allowed to?
Please.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and the honorable senators present here today. On behalf of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, I thank you for the privilege of taking part in this inquiry. Your invitation, Mr. Chairman, presents an important opportunity to us to express our support for the task at hand and assure you that FDA will not be sitting on this issue and that we will be taking and are already taking immediate measures to protect the public. Mr. Chair, Your Honor, I am prepared to explain before the committee the technical and administrative processes involved in the approval and certification of pharmaceutical products by the FDA. I hope that our presentation will help the committee to come up with appropriate conclusions regarding the matters at hand. Para din po sa inyong kaalaman, we have already, last December 4, we issued a suspension letter and an advisory to Sanofi to withdraw the products in the market, which includes also the selling and distribution of the Dengvaxia. Para rin po sa inyong kaalaman, we currently, we have initiated the creation of a task force na ang gagawin ho nitong task force na to ay hindi lang po iimbestigahan yung previous processes na nangyari sa loob ng FDA, but we will be ensuring immediate course of actions kung hindi po nararapat na ang Dengvaxia ay mailagay pa sa publiko at gamitin ng taong bayan. Para rin po sa inyong kaalaman, we will be
Excuse
exercising.
me. For the record, FDA, para sa kaalaman ng buong madla, FDA ang nag-approve para maibenta sa publiko sa mga private persons yung mga gamot. Yung formularyo po, yan ho ang sistema na ginagamit ng gobyerno para ilista yung mga gamot na papayagan ng gobyerno na gagamitin ng mga public and government entities. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
I just wanted to clarify that para maintindihan ho. Sige po, salamat po. Please proceed.
in terms of the task force outputs and objectives, I would like to highlight that we will be determining any and all judicial and administrative recourse moving forward. We will submit the findings of the committee as soon as the internal probe is concluded, or as soon as the task force has completed all its facts and data gathering. Thank you, po.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Liachan?
Perhaps I will defer first to Dr. Tony Dance on the safety, so that for a bigger picture, because
Let's hear it from Dr. Tony
Dance.
Dance then, because I apologize last time I was not able to call you.
Thank you,
This is your
Mr.
chance now.
Chairman. I want to express a humble opinion that the whole problem starts with one thing, and we should look into that.
Could you
That
kindly
single thing.
Could you kindly qualify yourself? Because marami
yeah.
po nanonood sa atin. Ano po ba ang inyong posisyon?
Yeah, I should correct. I'm not a national scientist. I'm a scientist of the National Academy of Science and Technology and a professor at the UP College of Medicine. My expertise is not about vaccines. My expertise is in analyzing the numbers that are analyzed in a paper. And analysis of these numbers is generic across any kind of treatment.
Sige po.
Yeah, so in my opinion, the whole problem started with bad science.
With
bad science.
Science.
In our opinion, that's the root of the problem. And that bad science, there were already signals of harm in seronegative patients many years ago, and it was ignored initially, and it led to a delayed recognition of that harm. And the end result is that we have patients who were uninformed. We could debate the policy.
Excuse me, sir. Are you talking about Dr. Halstead?
Not only him. I think there's this.
Kasi pag sinabi nyo meron na, pakisabi lang ho nyo
Yes.
yung science na yan.
We have a published paper, and Dr. Halstead has published papers pointing out that there were strong signals of the possibility of harm that should not be ignored. And that's the reason we lobbied for
Harm na yan.
so it's very complicated, but the simplest way I can put it is, what's the issue on safety of this vaccine? Is it an age issue, or is it a serostatus issue? If you accept it as an age issue, then you can say, let's vaccinate everyone who's older than 9. But it's not an age issue. It's an issue of whether patients had previous dengue infection or not. So that signal was ignored, and in our opinion, we are all victims of that bad science. The WHO is a victim of that bad science. The DOH is a victim of that bad science. The physicians who ended up prescribing it and the patients who ended up receiving it, we're all victims of this bad science. And we can submit to you the papers, the scientific papers that we wrote and were published, pointing out these problems in the science.
I do so, but please get to the point of what you want to say.
So our point is that the main issue that led to the whole problem is the bad science. And the bad science, we think that whatever legislation that comes from here should address how the science is assessed, and that there should be a separation between people assessing the science and people rendering policy. Because the people who saw the science, like the Formulary Executive
Ang ibig
Committee,
niyo sabihin, dapat nakahiwalay
ang science po.
yung science na hindi dapat i-mix do sa, halimbawa, yung
Sa
FDA, dapat pawang FDA lang at hindi dapat maging independent yung FDA.
Opo. That's
Ganun
what I
rin yung
mean.
formularyo, dapat hindi napapakailaman.
Opo.
Hayaan natin yung mga dinesignate na mga tao doon na magdesisyon na walang makikialam o makikihalo na matataas na o mga politiko. Hindi naman lahat ng politiko masama, pero yung mga dapat na yung mga ibig niyo sabihin.
Opo.
O sige.
Tama po.
Just a clarification, Mr. Chairman, just very quickly. my understanding is the science, as you're saying, was bad science, which was put together by scientists, not by
Yes.
politicians.
No, no. Yes,
Precisely.
you're right.
So
po.
the interference of politicians is another issue altogether.
Yes.
What you're
yes.
saying is that there is a debate in the science community,
Yes.
and unfortunately, as far as you see it, that the bad science won
Yes.
the debate.
Yes. Yes.
And there was no political debate or politicians participating in that debate
No.
that led to the bad science.
Yes.
That is my understanding.
Yes.
Thank you.
If I may clarify, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So the science.
Senator Gatchalian
yeah.
is now present in the chamber. Go ahead.
Yes. The Senator Pangilinan is right. This is a scientific debate. And our scientists at the Formulary Executive Council knew and pointed out the problems. Now, because there was no adequate separation between policy and science, the Food and Drug Administration is under the Department of Health, then we lose the checks and balance.
And who makes the policy? Because sinabi mo kanina, walang politika. Eh, ang policy, nanggagaling yan either sa Secretary of Health, yung mga ibig mo sabihin?
Yes, I think policy is necessary and politics is necessary.
Get to the point,
Yes.
please, because kanina sinabi niyo bad science, pero alam natin sa science ay may debate palagi ang mga scientists.
Yes.
Di ba? Pero saan nagkakamali pag pumasok na yung, halimbawa, inilalako ang isang gamot, yun ba? Ibig sabihin? Kasi marami yung nakikinig sa atin, dapat matuntunan nila yung issue. Ano po ba sinasabi niyo?
So that's the basic issue, Mr. Chairman. I feel that assessment of the science should be separate from policy. The FDA should not be under the Department of Health and should be a separate institution, independent from DOH.
Go ahead, Dr. Richard.
Sir, I was asked by, if I can mention, the other day because I was on television, whether the president, the ex-president, is liable for this one, and Secretary Garin. My answer is basically this one. If the bad science or wrong information has been fed to the president, how can you blame the president if the president was fed with bad science or wrong information? And even WHO or even Secretary Garin. The problem is that when this particular problem is brought to the president and he thinks this is actually a sense of urgency, and then the policymakers will interfere with the experts and the scientists, that is the problem, sir. So we cannot mix, sir, science and health and politics. But it started also with the bad science and perhaps deceptive or wrong information, sir.
Bad science means bad medicine. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
When
No, sir. Because there are certain medications during the launch in which there may actually be the risk-benefit ratio is okay. The benefits would outweigh the risk. But if there are red flags or safety alerts, then the FDA and the manufacturer should alert right now. So when we went to the Department of Health, based on this particular signal, we told them that not to launch this on a wide scale, but scale down, because this is a prescription base, and do serological tests first before actually launching it, because it is a logistical nightmare considering the absence or the lack of medical care or access in the countryside.
Let me try and clarify what you're trying to say. And correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody is welcome to do that. I'll ask the Secretary of Public Health. Somebody is recommending medicine. There are questions on that medicine and the efficacy of the medicine. All right? There are issues na huwag kayong magturok doon sa hindi pa tinatamaan ng dengue. Merong material yan from my research na huwag magturok doon sa hindi pa tinatamaan ng dengue. In spite of that, tinuloy. Now, siyempre, hindi naman natin pipigilin just because may ganon, na may issue na ganon. Ang sinasabi mo ngayon, caution was thrown to the wind. Dapat, hindi ganun kalaki ang sample. In other words, Brazil had a sample of 300,000. We had a sample of 830,000. Mahirap kontrolin yung pagturok ng gamot dahil isanalya na kagad yung gamot sa maraming tao at wala ng panahon sapagkat bago pa sinalya yan, dapat nung tinest ng gamot na yan, dapat tinignan muna kung may mga side effects yan. Yun sinasabi na pang-apat. Yung pang-apat na pagkatapos yung testingin, market testing must be conducted to survey there are side effects. And from what I gathered from you the other day, there was no such thing done, and yet it went on and was marketed to the whole country, to the several regions, the most populous regions. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. And the problem, sir, the blueprint for safety monitoring, I'm not saying it was premeditated.
Just get to the point.
Yes, sir. The post-marketing surveillance program in 2013 would limit the number of patients on the first year to the third year so that there will be doctor-patient relationship. So therefore, the FEC also recommended also submission of a research protocol for safety surveillance. But since on paper, the FDA removed that particular safety measure, then it was actually abandoned and it was actually not achieved as one of the fulfillment or prerequisite for mass vaccination.
Okay, just to pursue the question, science. Let me ask who, WHO, and the Secretary of Health. With respect to Singapore, they said you may use it, but only for private use. Meaning to say, pwedeng gamitin ng mga tao sa Singapore yan, pero kailangan may prescription ka ng doktor mo. Yung doktor mo magsasabi sa'yo. In contradistinction, pinasabog na dito sa lahat at walang chance yung doktor ng mahirap, wala namang access yung mahirap sa private doctor na magsabi sa kanya, teka muna, dahan-dahan ka, baka may side effect yan. Yun ba sinasabi ninyo? Is that what we're saying here?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Singapore did that. Did they do diligence in that effect?
Well, I'm not the best person to respond to your query, Mr. Chairman. I really don't know what Singapore had done, but as was mentioned a while ago, if this is used with a physician-patient in a physician-patient relationship,
right,
monitoring may be clear, and the surveillance is better because it's more personal.
In other words, meron doktor, may pasyente, pagkatapos yung binabantayan kung may effect.
Yes.
Kung may side effect na masama.
In other words, natututukan mo.
Tututukan mo.
Oo.
So, tama ba yung bigla natin pinakalat kagad sa napakalaking region?
Ang sa akin po, kung akong tatanungin ninyo, I've always subscribed to this principle that to err on the side of caution. Magkamali man ako, basta't ang pagkakamali ko ay nasa panig ng kaligtasan, okay lang yon. So I would have been more conservative.
Well, the other day, Secretary Obial said she would have used it for 20,000 only. Why did you say that, Dr. Obial?
Sir, once upon a time was expanded program on immunization program manager. I headed the polio eradication unit. So I have that background that when we introduce new vaccines, you don't introduce it to 1 million subjects.
Not a massive.
All at the same time.
Hindi basta sabay-sabay.
We introduce it slowly. The most number of subjects that you introduce it is around 40,000 subjects.
And the reason for that is so that kung may mali, you can control.
Monitor it. Yes,
you can control.
Mr. Chairman, but just for the record, Dr. Obial, ilan during your time ang nabigyan ng vaccine na to? During your time as DOH Secretary, ilan po yung nabigyan ng vaccine?
We expanded to Cebu 123,000.
Yun na nga eh. So, sinasabi niyo ho na kung ang gusto ninyo, mas maliit na number, and yet you did expand it. Plus yung nag-second dose was during your time.
Yes, Your
So
Honor.
ilan ho yung
Because
nabigyan ng
during my
Dengvaxia?
time, the WHO recommendation or position paper was already out, July 29, 2016.
And what did it say?
And it said that the vaccine is safe and efficacious.
So ilan ho
Let
ulit?
me clarify that, if I may.
Can I finish my question, Mr. Chairman?
Let me
I have
just
a-
clarify, because malinaw dapat we have World Health
We're
Organization here.
damage control already during my
World
time.
Health Organization said the vaccine is safe subject to certain conditions. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct?
That's
Sir.
correct.
Yes, the World Health Organization in the paper laid out the conditions that should be considered by a country when making a decision about the use of the vaccine. And it included a discussion of the risks and the benefits, the observed ones from the clinical trials, and also theoretical risks. So the signal that Dr. Dance was referring to was actually referred to in the WHO paper, including the theory around the theoretical risk of increased occurrence of severe dengue in those who were not exposed to dengue virus before. However, the paper also referred back to the data, and the data from the clinical trial at the time did show or did not show that there's an increased statistical significant risk of severe dengue in the age group older than 9. So the paper has really exposed the evidence to countries to make its own decision about the observed risks and taking into account theoretical risks. And different countries looked at the data and came to different conclusions. And you've just referred to Singapore, who came to a different conclusion than the Philippines, and there are other countries who looked at this as well. So there wasn't a blanket recommendation to...
No, we're not saying that there was a blanket recommendation. I don't think you're in the business of recommending it, are you?
Yeah, there's no, we've put out a nuanced set of recommendations for countries to consider.
You just say the
We're not
conditions.
just saying do it or don't do it.
You just say the conditions must be followed, the protocol. You're suggesting the following conditions must be there to be safe.
Exactly. We set out the conditions that should apply for considering using the vaccine, and then what are the issues that need to inform this decision. But the decision is a local judgment call, and it is not a blanket decision taken by...
It's their call. It's the government's call.
Correct.
So if they made a mistake, then people die or people get sick or get hospitalized. It's not whose fault, right?
Yeah, I mean, we are setting out the
No,
framework,
no.
and the country makes
I'm
the
not putting you on the
decision.
spot. You are there as a guardian of the standards of how medicines are distributed in the world or how to react to Ebola and stuff like that. But in this particular case, you set out the conditions. And to be fair to Sanofi, it was fine. But there was not enough knowledge, and they took the risk of saying, if you give it to people who have no previous immunization or previous dengue, that's why now they're pulling it back and saying you cannot give it. It's dangerous now to give it to somebody who's not been immunized. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Now, since the time when this position paper came out, there's more data available, and now the context has changed. And as soon as it became available, the recommendation was also changed, and the recommendation is now based on the new evidence that it is not recommended to use the vaccine in people who have not been exposed to the virus.
But in
before.
fairness, that is the history of medicine, right? As the data comes in, you're more intelligent. Isn't that correct?
Yes, of course, we are adapting our positions based on the best available evidence as it comes in.
So meaning to say that it is up to the country to say, all right, we'll get more of this, and if they get stung by it, or they get stung by it, or whatever, that's their own lookout, right? So the position of the Secretary of Health is to err on the side of caution. The previous Secretary of Health says, well, this is good, and now she apologized the other day and said, well, we didn't know that we're not supposed to do it with people who have not been immunized.
Can I just...
I mean, not been inoculated, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Can I just correct a bit of misperception here, if you don't, with all due respect, Mr. Chairman. The problem is really not about having been immunized per se.
Having the vaccine.
But there are three events that are necessary here. First is that under the condition where Sanofi made this observation, saying on record that they have observed severe dengue disease in the following scenario. In children who never had a prior dengue infection,
That's correct.
then
That's what I meant.
that were immunized either 1, 2, or completed dose, and then after which a mosquito came in and bit that child. So these three events have to be understood in that equation. So it's
That's
not
right.
the dengue vaccia itself that creates the problem. It's when after the immunization has been done and a mosquito that carries the dengue bites the child, and then that's where the observed severe dengue symptoms was.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that is why the science at that time says, put it to areas where there's a lot of dengue.
That's right, sir.
All right? And this is region 3, 4,
Mr. Chairman,
and NCR.
to just summarize what WHO attempts to convey, it's really that the guidelines said three things. You want to do the dengue vaccination in areas where there is hyper-endemicity of dengue. So that's why 3A, regions 3, 4A, NCR, Cebu, and its component cities.
Excuse me, and usually it would be 70%, 90%?
70% zero prevalence.
Zero prevalence,
least,
right.
Yes. That's in data from the zero prevalence rate. But let me just continue, and I'll get back, with your permission, to the problem with the zero prevalence. Number 2 is the conditionality that the 3 doses ought to be given. And number 3, that it has to be given to 9-year-old school children and above. Yes, sir. Now, the problem with the zero prevalence, from my perspective.
For the benefit of the viewers and the listeners, what do you mean by zero prevalence?
Ito po yung katunayan na meron po siyang antibodies laban po doon sa dengue para mo malaman kung nagkaroon ba ng dating impeksyon yung bata o wala. Eh, hindi naman po talaga ginawa yan eh. Yun ang atin sinasabi dito. Although we understand that the people who have been arguing, bakit hindi nyo ginawa yan? Okay, ideally, magandang gawin yon, pero ang problema, hindi siya specific just for dengue. You use that test to measure the titer of antibodies, IgG, IgM, as a marker of prior infection. But the problem with that available test, it's not specific. It can mean you've had prior infection to Zika virus, to Japanese encephalitis, and to chikungunya. So it doesn't tell you much, in other words. Yes, okay. So, ang problema naman, kung gagawin mo in the ideal scenario, where, correct me if I'm wrong, if you use is it the PCR test, is it the virological confirmation, iilan lang ang meron nun. So, the argument would have been sana talagang mas conservative yung decision to implement the dengue program to a more focused group, to a more limited number of vaccinees.
That is why the other day, when asked, all the experts at the panel said it was premature to do it at that time. Right? At that level.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. So, yun ang gusto natin malaman. At saka, isa pa, and I'm going to ask who and the experts here, if any, di ba may 4 yan, first strain 1 and 2. 4 yan, di ba? May 3 and 4. The dengue vaccia was really suited for, correct me if I'm wrong, for 4. And that our dengue our dengue is 1 and 2. Is that correct?
What? Your Honor, I think we have 4 circulating
Correct,
strains.
that's what I said, 4.
1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's a variability or seasonality. There are seasons where the strain 2 predominates. In some seasons, other strains predominate. Now, para lang maintindihan din po ng ating pong mga kasama dito, yung pong pagka nagkaroon po kayo ng dengue at hindi naman kayo nabakunahan, ay ang katawan ninyo ang siya mismong gagawa ng pamamaraan upang mailigtas kayo sa future exposure to the same strain by developing your antibodies. Okay, antibodies to strain 1 kung yun ang naging ang nakapag-infect, nagbigay ng sakit sa inyo. The problem there, you develop lifetime immunity to strain 1 once you've had prior exposure, but not to 2, 3, and 4.
So 1 lang may lifetime immunity.
That's right. The logic behind the vaccination is precisely to cover you, to protect you from strains 2, 3, and 4. The problem, however, is that the dengue vaccine has been shown not to provide 100% or 90% efficacy or protection. Depending on the strain, if the predominant strain, say, is number 2, then, unfortunately, the dengue vaccine efficacy is at its lowest, which is about 36-40%.
Would you mind looking at this slide here? Because we spent long hours looking at this, all right? Para maintindihan ng tao, no? Because I'm here to explain to the public as well. Because sila ang ninenervyos eh. Secondary sa akin, sino may kasalanan. Dadating tayo doon. Pero ang importante sa akin, maintindihan ng tao. So lumalabas dyan, dengue 1, 2, 3, and 4, depending kulay. Nakita nyo, dengue 2 is 36.80%, 9 to 14 years of age. Right? And dengue 4, 87.90%. Diba? Right? Tingnan niyo ang effect ng gold doon sa kabila, 9.6%. Ano nga big sila? Yun ang population, 9.6% lang ang distribution. Pero yung atin dito, dengue 1 and 2, 36.80. Tingnan nyo ang pula. Diyan tayo binigyan. Yung pula, ang dami-dami natin dito. Pero yung dengue 4, doon sa kukunti lang. So, ang sinasabi ko kanina, dengue 4 is really suited for Latin America. Dahil doon tumama yun eh. Doon una binigay niya, kaya doon sa Brazil. Ginamit dito ngayon, pagdating dito, binigay nyo, mas malaking population, pero ineffective, hindi effective, at hindi ko sabing ineffective. Wrong. Not appropriate, hindi sukat. So, doon pumalpak. Kaya lalong delikado ngayon, kung ikaw, wala kang dengue, nagpatusok ka, yung yung tamaan ka ng dengue, pwede kang matepok o pwede kang gumastos ng napakalaki. At ang masakit, ninenervyos si papa, si mama, si tatay, si nanay, nangangatog dahil natatakot, dahil nasabi nga ng Sanofi, may putok yung gamot. Tama ba yan? Please answer the microphone.
Yes, sir. But let me also...
Wait.
Yes, sir.
Secretary Bial, do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
What about the formulario? Please answer the microphone. Answer to the microphone. Do you agree with this?
Sir, that would be for a certain time, if depending on what is the circulating serotype during the time. But
Precisely.
every season, it will change again. So next season, it could be dengue 4, which is the most prominent.
That was what was the next point I was going to ask you. Pero dito sa atin, mas 1 and 2. Pero kung lumipat, yung iba't ibang mga...
Sir, it changes also with every year.
Di ba?
Sir,
yes.
you cannot influence the outcome of which of the strains will predominate. You never know that. It could be 4 this year. It could be 3 next year. We have the record to show what strains were predominating.
I'm merely showing the point is being reinforced is that you do not have the right shotgun. Yan nag-iiba eh. The science is not perfect, far from perfect. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is one aspect, the serotype that's circulating, but that's not the only reason why we have concerns. It's really about being seronegative and seropositive. Sanofi was upfront in saying that their vaccine was not as protective for dengue 1 and 2. So we walked through the door, eyes open, that it was not that efficacious for dengue 1 and 2.
When you say we, who is that?
Well,
DOH then.
the Philippines.
DOH then.
Okay, if you say DOH for the public health.
You're the expert. I'm not the expert.
Okay, so the DOH
By the way,
made the
this is
decision.
Dr. Lansang for the stenographers.
Sorry, yes.
Go ahead.
DOH made the decision aware that dengue 1 and 2 efficacy was not very high. But the problem at that time, as we already said, science has a lot, shades of gray. At that time, the real debate was on whether the efficacy was dependent on seronegativity and seropositivity. And the new evidence does confirm our suspicion before that kiliti lang ang bakuna pag seronegative ka. And that kiliti is enough to increase your risk of severe dengue in the future. That's the main problem.
Wala, kiliti lang yun. Pero
kiliti lang.
pag tama ka uli,
yes, you produced a little protection, antibodies, few antibodies, kilite, so that when the real breakthrough dengue comes in, that's when you have the higher risk of severe dengue.
Severe problems.
That's the problem.
World Health Organization, are we on the right track here?
Yes, I think you summarized it very well. The problem is indeed that for those who were not exposed...
Please talk to the microphone because
yes.
your voice isn't that...
it's
like Cary Grant.
I've also got a cold. The problem is indeed that for those who have not been exposed to the dengue virus before, after vaccination, the chances of getting severe dengue are higher compared to those who have not been vaccinated. So that's exactly the what has been seen in the data right now, and this is also a signal that was described last year as a theoretical possibility. It's a signal that was not observed at the time in the clinical trials as a statistically significant phenomenon based on the trials, but there was a signal, and indeed was described as a theory. Also in the WHO paper at the time.
Now, Sanofi, you know about this. The country spent 3.9 billion, and you found out later that's a very expensive mistake for us. No, I'm asking you.
What's your question, Mr. Chairman?
You knew about all this, even if later on you were more decided that there was something wrong, that if you had not had dengue in your system before, and you had been, as Dr. Lansang says, tickled by the dengue vaccine, that you could have more. And now, to my mind, from the standpoint of prioritization of where our money should go in, should it go to TB or should it go to dengue? In a very young science of dengue, maybe we should have gone to TB. But of course, your exhortations, it's all of us are hot that you have a dengue solution. So, in retrospect, there was a bit of a severe error here. That 3.9 billion pesos of the people's money were spent on something that is not totally efficient.
Just to...
I'm asking...
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to answer this question by...
trying to help you defend yourself, okay?
I'm here to say the truth, Mr. Chairman. So, I'd like to say a few points. I've heard this morning a few things that I'd like to correct. I've heard experimental drug.
I'm asking a question now. Don't go to the defense later on, because things are going to be wild and furious here. We are here on point, so answer that point.
So could you repeat the question, Your Honor? So if it's in terms of prioritization of government, we, Sanofi Pasteur, are the manufacturer and the developer of a vaccine.
What the scientists here are saying, that the dengue vaccine was not effective for all strains. That if you hit the wrong strain, you just spent your money for nothing.
This information was communicated as part of the clinical trial assessment, which was communicated to everybody, published in the Lancet or in the New England Journal of Medicine. The results of this trial were shared with everybody, and actually these efficacy results were completely disclosed.
Ang Pasko ay hindi lang para sa pagbibigayan, pagtutulungan, pagpapakita ng malasakit sa kapwa at kasiyahan, kundi ang Pasko'y isang pagdiriwang ng pag-ibig sa isa't isa. Pag-ibig sa ating bansa at higit sa lahat, pag-ibig sa buong may kapal. Kaya ngayong Pasko, gawin nating extra large ang pag-ibig para sa lahat. Maligayang Pasko at manigong bagong taon mula sa himpilan sa tugtugan at serbisyo publiko.
DZXL ang kasama mo.
Maligayang Pasko
ang kasama mo.
DZXL 558 Manila. Mula sa RMN News Nationwide, ito ang Sound of the Nation. Mga balita sa nasyon at sa iyong rehiyon, maririnig mo na ngayon. Ito ang bagong tunog ng pagbabalita, Sound of the Nation.
Mabuhay Pilipinas! Pananghalian po ng Throwback Thursday. Ang iyong mga radyoman, ako si Buddy Oberas.
At Radyoman Rod Marcelino, December 14, 2017.
Live via satellite, RMN News Nationwide, the sound of the nation.
Live tayo nationwide kasama lahat ng RMN station sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Live din sa WRMN New York, USA at sa Facebook, RMN News Nationwide, the sound of the nation.
RMN News Nationwide, the sound of the nation. RMN News, panahon.
Radyoman Rod, may mukhang lumakas pa si Orduha. Pero bumagal naman habang papalapit ng Eastern Samar.
Talagang matindi to si Orduha. Malakas eh. Malakas na babae.
Iba talaga si Orduha eh. Malakas.
Hindi ba ano to? Prinsesa.
Yun ang pagkakaalala ko, Radyoman Rod.
Radyoman Buddy at mga kasama, huli itong namataan ang bagyo sa 120 kilometers east ng Giwan, Eastern Samar, at taglay nito ngayon ang lakas ng hangin na aabot sa 60 kilometers bawat oras at pabugsong aabot po sa 80 kilometers per hour.
Kumikilos ang bagyo sa bilis na 7 kilometro bawat oras sa direksyon Pakanluran.
At ayon sa Pag-asa, abay mamayang gabi po o kay bukas, tatama po ang bagyo sa kalupaan ng Eastern Samar.
At dahil sa paglapit ng bagyo sa kalupaan, nadagdagan pa yung mga lugar na nakataas po yung storm signal number 1 ha. Kabilang dyan ang mga bamagitin namin, ang Catanduanes,
Albay,
Masbate,
Eastern Samar,
Leyte, Northern Cebu,
Capiz,
Northern Iloilo,
Camarines Sur,
kaya hindi po ang Sorsogon,
Romblon,
Northern Samar,
Biliran,
Southern Leyte,
Bantayan Island,
at saka yung Aklan.
Walang pasok naman sa lahat po ng antas ng paaralan sa Camarines Sur, Naga City, Northern Samar at Tacloban City.
Preschool hanggang elementary naman sa Albay at Sorsogon.
Kanselado rin ang biyahe mga kasama ng eroplano ng Skyjet Manila papuntang Siargao at pabalik ng Siargao at pabalik ng Metro Manila.
Tama ka, Siargao yun, no?
Siargao ba yun?
Pero let's go to Siargao. Better.
RMN News Nationwide, the sound of the nation.
Alas 12:02.
That time check was brought to you by Bravo Food Supplement for Men. Ibalik ang bagsik. Itodo ang arangkada ng walang palya.
Mga kasama, binigyan din po ni dating Pangulong Noynoy Aquino na ligtas at epektibo ang anti-dengue vaccine. Ito yung Dengvaxia. Sa pagharap niya bilang resource person sa investigasyon sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, sinabi ni dating Pangulong Aquino na dumaan ang dingbak siya sa lahat ng proseso para malamang ligtas at epektibo ito. Ayon pa sa dating Pangulo, klaro sa kanya noon na trabaho ng gobyerno na pakalmahin at suportahan ng mga Pilipino sa laban kontra dengue.
Paliwanag sa akin, dumaan ng dingbak sa isa sa mga phases ng US FDA. Tingin ko na rin po, di lang Pilipinas ang nag-aproba sa dingbak nauna sa atin ang Mexico at Brazil. Tingin ko lalo sa aking pong pakiwari at sa aking pagkaunawa sa lahat na ibinalita sa atin ng mga eksperto, dumaan na po ito sa lahat ng proseso para malaman ang kanyang efficacy at mas importante ang kanyang safety.
Nagpaliwanag din mga kasama si Pinoy kung bakit niya inaprobahan ang Dengbaksya.
Diin ko lang po, bago nagdesisyon ang gobyerno sa Dengbaksya, habang nagdedesisyon at maski pagkatapos magdesisyon, wala pong nagparating sa akin ng pagtutol sa naturang bakuna. Kaya natin inilunsad dito sa National Capital Region, Calabarzon at Central Luzon. Dahil ayon sa datos ng DOH, ito po ang tatlong pinaka-apektadong mga rehiyon.
Sinabi rin ni Pangulong Aquino sa pagpunta niya sa Paris para sa COP21 ay nakausap niya maraming mamumuhunan at sinabing ready na nga ang Sanofi para sa bakuna.
At balik ulit tayo kay Bagyong Orduha. Mga kasama ilang lugar po dyan sa may Tacloban at Karatig Probinsya binaha dahil kay Bagyong Orduha. Kasama po sa Balita Radyoman mula RMN Tacloban, Justine Traya.
MN News, the sound of the nation. Report!
Kansilado na ang lahat ng klase sa lahat ng antas ng paaralan sa Tacloban City at sa mga karating probinsya sa Eastern Visayas tulad ng Leyte, Samar, Eastern Samar at Northern Samar dahil sa Bagyong Orduha. Sa lakas ng pagulan simula pa kahapon, nagpababa na ng executive order ang syudad ng Tacloban at maging ang mga munisipyo matapos mag-issue ang pag-asa ng Severe Weather Bulletin No. 5 dahil siguradong hindi makakapasok ang mga estudyante sa kanilang paaralan. Dagdag pa dito, baha na ang ilan sa mga kalsada at pumasok na sa ilang mga kabahayan, lalo na sa ilang barangay sa Tacloban. Maging ang mga Yolanda survivors na nailipat sa mga resettlement areas sa Northern Barangay ng Tacloban ay problema din ang matinding pagbaha. Sa ngayon ay naglilibot na ang City at Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office sa mga apektadong lugar ng bagyo. Pinag-iingat naman ng otoridad ang mga residente at maging alerto sa posibleng pagdikas. Kasama mo sa RMN Tacloban, Radyoman Justine Traya, Tatak RMN.
RMN News, the sound of the nation. Report!
Yung mga pasahero naman pong stranded sa Bicol at Eastern Visayas dahil sa bagyo ay nasa may 200 na. Para sa detalye si Radyoman Silvestre Labay.
Umakyat na sa 249 na pasahero ang na-stranded sa Eastern Visayas at Bicol Region tulad ng Bagyong Orduha ayon kay PCG spokesman Captain Arman Balilo sa Port of Luok. 54 na pasahero at isang vessel at 24 na rolling cargos ang na-stranded habang sa Port of San Isidro ay 52 na passengers at 9 na rolling cargos ang na-stranded. Sa Port of Ubusan naman, 71 passenger at 2 rolling cargos ang na-stranded dulot pa rin ng sama ng panahon. Sa Bicol Region naman, sa Port of Matlog, 72 na passenger at 14 na rolling cargos ang na-stranded kaya umabot na sa kabuang 249 na passenger, isang vessel at 49 rolling cargos ang na-stranded sa naturang mga pantalan. Pinayuhan ni Balilo ang lahat ng PCG o Coast Guard units na tiyakin na mahigpit na ipatupad ang PCG Memorandum Circular Number 02-13 o panuntunan sa paglalayag sa mga sasakyang pandagat sa oras na may sama ng panahon. Kasama mo sa Maynila, Radyoman Silvestre Labay ng DZXL 558 Tatak RMN.
Bureau of Immigration naman mga kasama magde-deploy po ng karagdagang tauhan sa mga immigration counter nang naiabunsod na rin ng pagtaas naman po ito ng volume ng mga pasahero. Kasama mo sa Balita Radyoman, Joyce Adra.
Maglalagay ang Bureau of Immigration ng dagdag ng mga tauhan sa immigration counters sa NAIA terminals
Sa harap ito ng nararanasang mahabang pila sa departure area sa immigration counters sa NAIA ngayong Christmas season. Sa ngayon kasi bawat booth ay 2 immigration officers lamang ang naka-duty sa halip na 4. Nakadagdag din sa paghaba ng pila ang pagpapatupad ng finger scanning sa mga pasahero. Samantala muling nanawagan sa mga pasahero si MIA General Manager Edmond Real na agahan ng pagtungo sa paliparan. Layo nito na hindi maiwan ng kanilang flights ngayong dumadagsa ang malaking volume ng mga pasahero. Kasama mo sa NAIA, Radyo Manchoy, Colyantas Adra, DZXL 558, Tatak RMN.
Investigasyon kay dating Pangulong Noynoy Aquino at iba pang opisyal para sa kasong plunder iginit po sa pagdinig ng Senado. Para sa detalye si Radyoman Grace Mariano.
Iginit nga ng Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption o VACC sa Senado na imbestigahan si dating Pangulong Noynoy Aquino, dating Budget Secretary Butch Abad at dating Health Secretary Janet Garin. Sa pagdinig ng Senado ukol sa anti-dengue vaccine ay sinabi ni Attorney Ferdinand Topacio ng VACC na maaaring sambahan ng kasong plunder. Sina Aquino kaugnay sa kontrobersyal na pagbili ng gobyerno ng anti-dengue vaccine na Dengvaxia sa halagang 3.5 billion pesos. Pero agad na binara ni Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon si Topacio sa pagsasabing in aid of legislation ang kanilang pagdinig. Paliwanag naman ni Topacio hindi akusasyon ang kanyang mga inihayag kundi mga mungkahi lamang. Sa nagpapatuloy na hearing ay binigyan din naman ni Dr. Antonio Dance ng National Academy of Science and Technology na bad science ang ugat ng problema ngayon sa Dengvaxia. Iginit din ni Dance na ihiwalay ang Food and Drug Administration sa Department of Health upang magkaroon ng checks and balance. Sabi naman ni dating Health Secretary Pauline Ubial, pinalawig nila ang anti-dengue immunization dahil sabi ng World Health Organization o WHO ay ligtas at epektibo ang bakuna kaya umabot pa sa 124,000 ang dagdag na nabigyan ng bakuna. Sa pagdinig nilinaw naman ang kinatawan ng WHO na ang pagbibigay ng bakuna sa mamamayan ay desisyon ng isang gobyerno at hindi ng WHO. Kasama mo sa Senado, Radyoman Grace Mariano ng DZXL 558, Tatak.
Palasyo binigyan diin na hindi inaabsuelto ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte si dating Pangulong Noynoy Aquino. Kasama mo sa balita, Radyoman Deo de Guzman.
Nilinaw ng Palasyo ng Malacanang na hindi tuloy ang inaabsuelto ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ang mga opisyal ng nakaraang administrasyon, partikular dating Pangulong Noynoy Aquino sa issue ng Dengvaxia o ang anti-dengue vaccine. Ito ang sinabi ng Palasyo sa harap na rin ng naging pahayag ni Pangulong Duterte kahapon kung saan sinabi nito na naiintindihan niya ang naging hakbang ng nakaraang administrasyon para ipatupad ang anti-dengue vaccine program lalo pat kung may pangangailangan talaga ng panahon iyon at ito ay ipinatupad din niya in good faith. Ayon kay Presidential Spokesman Secretary Harry Roque, mayroon lang namang makakasuhan kung mayroong mapatutunayang kapabayaan o nagkulang sa issue ng anti-dengue vaccine. Hindi din naman anya ibig sabihin ng sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte na wala nang makakasuhan o sino mang inaabsuelto nito ang mga opisyal na nakarang administrasyon dahil kung mayroon talagang pagkakamali ay dapat talagang maparusahan. Binigyan din dito na hahayaan na lang na matapos nila o hahayaan na lang nilang matapos ang investigasyon ng Senado at ng Department of Justice sa nasabi ng sabi. Kasama mo sa Palasyo ng Malacanang, Radyo Mandeo de Guzman ng DZXL 558 Tatak RMN.
RMN News Nationwide. The sound of the nation.
Alas 12:11. Muntik na maging 11. Sa RMN News Nationwide, the sound of the nation. Karamihan po sa mga Pinoy mga kasama umaasa na bubuti ang kanilang pamumuhay at ekonomiya sa susunod na taon. Sa latest survey ng Social Weather Stations, 47% ng mga Pinoy po ay naniniwala na mas lalo pang bubuti ang kanilang kalagayan sa loob ng susunod na 12 buwan. 4% lamang ang naniniwala na magiging malala ang kanilang sitwasyon. Ang resulta ng net personal optimism ay tinuturing ng SWS na isang excellent rate. Mas mataas ang 2 puntos kumpara sa datos noong nakaraang taon. Ang survey isinagawa noong September 23 hanggang 27 sa 1,500 na tao nationwide.
At mga kasama sa napakatagal na panahon, sa wakas, nilinis din mga kasama ang monumento ng ating pambansang bayani na si Dr. Jose Rizal sa Luneta Park bilang paghahanda sa paggunita ng ika-121 taong anibersaryo ng kanyang kamatayan sa December 30. Pinangunahan ito ni Presidential Task Force on Media Security Undersecretary Joel Edco, National Historical Commission of the Philippines, National Parks Development Committee at CarSure, isang German company. Ayon kay Edco, layon din itong pangalagaan at pahalagahan ang mga simbolo ng pagiging Pilipino.
Gusto nila ipakita kung paano nila pinapahalagahan yung mga ganitong pantayog. So the more na dapat tayo mga Pilipino ay alagaan din natin. Kasi simbolo ng ating pagiging Pilipino ito pride and honor natin ito.
Umiko din sa buong mundo ang CarShare upang tumulong sa pangangalaga sa mga historical symbols sa bansa.
Mga kasama, plano pong questionin ni Buhay Representative Lito Atienza sa Korte Suprema ang isang taong pagpapalawig ng martial law sa Mindanao. Balak na Atienza na kumonsulta sa kanyang mga abogado para sa posibilidad ng paghain ng petisyon. Nais linawin ng kongresista kung tama ba ang naging proseso kahapon ng dalawang kapulungan sa joint session para palawigin po ng isang taon pa ang martial law. Sakali anyang mali ang ginawang proseso, nararapat lamang na magkaroon ng jurisprudence dito para hindi na mapaglaruan ng ehekutibo at kongreso ang constitutional provision kaugnay sa martial law.
Buong bansa, iba't ibang boses ng mga balita. RMN News Nationwide, the sound of the nation.
Mga estudyante naman at opisyal ng Cebu Doctors University sa Cebu na kinamay po sa dalawang nursing graduate na namatay po sa aksidente. Ang kasama mo sa balita mula RMN Cebu, Radyoman Ken Galinea.
Nakiramay ang mga opisyal at estudyante ng isang universidad sa Cebu sa dalawa nitong mga graduates na namatay sa isang vehicular accident sa araw mismo na inilabas ang resulta ng nursing licensure examination kung saan kapwa sila pumasa sa nasabing pasulit. Ang dalawang graduate na pumasa sa pagiging nurse ay sina Luis Michelle Naire Ferulin at Alexa Edicineza Carvajal ng Cebu Doctors University. Namatay sina Carvajal at Ferulin nang bumangga ang kanilang sasakyan habang papaakyat na ito sa flyover sa Barangay Luz sa Cebu City noong madaling araw ng Disyembre 12, ilang oras bago naman inilabas ang resulta ng nursing licensure examination kung saan sila pumasa. Si Ferulin ang nagmamaneho ng sinasakyan nilang Isuzu MU-X nang mangyari ang aksidente. Nagpahayag ng pakikiramay ang mga estudyante at opisyal ng CDU sa Facebook page ng universidad kung saan nakalagay ang larawan ng dalawang estudyante nitong nasawi. Kini ang inyong Radyoman sa RMN Cebu, Ken Galinea, Tatak RMN.
Ihabol natin ang sabi ng Pangulo may kaugnayan po sa martial law extension sa Mindanao kung mga pagpapakita raw ng mabuting gawa ang NPA kahit sa loob lamang ng 24 oras ay handa niya niyang bawiin. Ayon sa Pangulo, sa nakalipasong 50 taong pakikibaka, walang ginawa ang teroristang NPA kundi ang mag-recruit ng mga Pinoy na pumatay at magpakamatay. Pakinggan natin ang Pangulo.
I-live ko, Marcelo. Bigyan mo lang akong isang 1 solid day or 24 hours or even half an hour na pumunta sila ng barangay at may binigay sila ng kabutihan. Except to recruit people to die and to kill and to get the things of the people without their consent. And that is really brigandage or stealing.
RMN News Sports News.
Sa kabila po ng sigalo dahil sa kontrobersyal na trade ng San Miguel Beer at Kia Picanto, abay magbubukas pa rin sa linggo, December 17, ang ika-43 season ng Philippine Basketball Association. Nagkasundo kasi mga gobernador at mga team representative na isang tabi muna ang gusto sa pagitan ng 7 koponan na nais patalsikin si Chito Narvasa bilang PBA Commissioner kontra naman sa 5 team na nais i-extend ang kanyang termino.
Balita sa Ibayong Dagat.
Sa kabila po ng laki na mga ito, unti-unting nakakabawi na mga liblibong bumbero na ipaglaban sa anim na wildfire na nanalasa sa Southern California sa US. Sa ulat ng California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection ay 25% na ng mga wildfire ang kontrolado. Sa mga taga Malay-Balay ngayong pananghalian, susunod ang programang Giya sa Katiling. Radyo Manod, ano ibig sabihin nun?
Giya sa Katiling. Sa Malay-Balay.
Sa Malay-Balay. Kasama si Ryan Soriano, Radyoman Ryan Soriano.
Alam na nila yan.
Yan ang gusto ko sa'yo. Yung mga interpretasyon na talagang classic.
Anong ibig sabihin?
Alam na ninyo yan.
Alam na.
Pakinggan sa DXMB.
Ay, may to.
Malay-balay.
Sa tumbang higala, sa malay-balay.
That's right. Kasama nyo sa extra lawak na pagbabalita nationwide. Ay yung Radyoman, ako si Buddy Obera.
At Radyoman Rod Marcelino, at ito ang RMN News Nationwide. The Sound of the Nation.
Ang mga nagbabagang balita sa buong bansa ay hatid sa inyo ng Sound of the Nation mula sa RMN News Nationwide.